Hey guys, welcome back. So we got the E30 rack out and torn apart in the last video. Now we're taking the E46 rack out. As you can see, this is a pretty nice new rack that was already installed in this car, but we're going to use it for my buddy, and I'm going to hook him up on the price. He got screwed over on a couple of things that he bought on his car, so we're going to take care of that. And you know, we're just trying to make good projects and some disturbing creations and educate people. Not really trying to make $1 million here. I want to just do this for fun, you know. So let's get right into it. So over here, you can see that I'm taking off the top of this tie rod. This is a 19 bolt that I have the wrench on here, and here you can put this, this is a 5 Allen. So you put the Allen in, and then I pushed it against the piece of body right here, so that when I turn this, it'll hold it in place. Either you can hold this with your hand. I like to put it against here so I can push 2 hands and break this loose. So once you break it loose, and you see here now it's loose. How are you going to get this out? This is still a good part. So I want to be able to use this on another car, or sell this, or give this to a friend if they need one. So a lot of people will just take this bolt off, right? And then what they're going to do is they're going to hit this with a hammer, and you ruin this. Because you hit one of these threads and then it can't come down anymore. So you cannot damage this. So what we're going to do is, I'm going to put this on about halfway through, locked on there nice, and I'm going to hit the top of this with the hammer, and it'll pop this out. And I'm going to do this on both sides. There's one on the driver's side and there's one on the passenger side. This is the passenger side one. I could put a pickle fork in here like we showed last time. It looks like just like this, like a 2-piece fork, and it curves up a little. You put this in here, you hammer the back, you know, the old tap-a-rose-cake, tap, gotta do it twice. And it'll knock this down, but sometimes it breaks this bushing in here and loses the grease, and then the tie rod's no good. We don't want to do that. So we're going to save these. Also, the inner tie rods, we're going to take this off the E46 because the E30s have to go on here because they're a different length and fitment. They will bolt right onto this rack though. And then we're going to go to this side over here and do the same thing. I already broke it loose. So as you can see, I'm going to hit this one and tap this one down as well because we want to save these nice tie rods. After that, you're going to have to take the steering stem off. I did this already. It's just you can either take it off here. This is an E. I think these were E12 and this one. So I took it off here and the steering stem came right out. Last two is you're going to have to disconnect these bolts on the top here. This is a 16 on the top. Just a regular bolt, and then here on the bottom, see I just popped that out. This is a 15 on the bottom. So if you only have a small set like of tools, like a you know, like 100 set, they make these so you can get the 15 here and the 16 here, and you don't have to buy like duplicates of tools. So this just goes on the bottom underneath, right here. You put it up through and comes through this hole. Same thing on this side. So we'll just disconnect this, right? That's the 16, and I'll show it to you on the bottom where it looks, where it's at. So right here, you see it right there? See the bolt? Right underneath the rack. So there's the rack, you come right underneath, here's the bolt, bolts into the subframe. So a lot of people are bending these ears down to get this rack out. Instead of lifting the motor, you don't want to do that. You don't want to crack this. Please do not crack your subframe because it looks like it's easier. Take the time, be safe, you know? So we'll take this bolt out, we'll get these other 2 bolts out. We're going to get the rack out. I'm going to take the rack apart. Then you can see what it looks like apart. And this is going to be part number 1 of taking 2 racks out. This is the E46 rack removal. So even though this is an aftermarket rack, your E46 is going to look exactly the same. It's just not going to be as shiny as mine. So before you do your E46 rack change, you're going to have to get one of these engine hoists, or you're going to have to get that special piece that goes from strut to hold the engine up. You see how I'm holding the engine up because I did it with the E30? You have to do the same thing with the E46. I'm going to show you. So this one doesn't have an engine in it because I already sold the engine to another customer. But anyway, you would put that bar right here, lift the engine up a little bit, because you have to disconnect these motor mounts right here. So you can either go on top, this one's blown out, but there's a bolt on the top and there's a bolt right under the bottom. This is what the mount looks like. So right above your control arm here, there's a bolt right underneath here. See where my finger is? And for me, that was a 16 on the top and a 16 on the bottom. Now, I felt that it was easier to get under here to unloosen it and just pull the motor mount up with the motor. So when I push the motor back down, I could just rock it back and forth and get it in this hole and reconnect it. But you're gonna have to lift the motor up and disconnect these so that you have the space to pull this out. You do not want to bend this metal. You want to do it the proper way. So lift this up, get the motor out a little bit, and pull this out. And then you can pull the rack out. Very easy job. Just the pan sits in front of there, so you can't get it. You know that it's going to try to come this way and hit the pan. You can't do that. So people say to bend those tabs down, but don't do that. Don't ever do that. Do it the proper way. Get the tool, lift the engine up, disconnect, put the engine on the hoist first. Then disconnect these motor mounts, then raise the engine up about 4 inches, then you can pull the rack out the proper way. That's the proper way to pull a rack out of an E46 BMW. And we're gonna, so just quickly, I just wanna show you what the E46 rack looks like up close while it's out of the car, and show you where the bolts were that I was talking about. So as you can see here, this is the tie rod outside, and I put the bolt back on here. Tie rod, inner tie rod boot, E46 rack, and then again boot, inner tie rod, outer tie rod. This piece is gonna have to come off, this steering knuckle for the E46, because it doesn't transfer on, but the old steering stem is gonna go right on top of this. And these are on the on this side. Like if you're sitting on the car, they're on the driver's side, but the E36 are on the other side. So I'm gonna leave these hoses because they're so long, and one is gonna go directly in his power steering, and the other one is going to go directly into the steering box. So one of his hoses were broke already. These hoses are a little longer, so this is going to be an add-on for the E30. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to disconnect these boots from this clip right here. This is the original. This is an original clip, but these are not. These are squeeze clips. So I'm going to take this clip off, slide the boot down, disconnect this whole section, and then put the E30 on for this section right here. And this is going to be the end. I just wanted to show you. So this is where it came out of. This is the piece of suspension it came out of, where those 2 bolts were in the middle. Remember, 15 on the bottom, 16 on the top. Do not bend this down. Do not bend this up. Do not bend this stuff. I think they made it harder here because this solid piece wasn't in the E30. It was just one ear like this by itself. Please, when you're doing this, do not bend this stuff. You get stress fractures in this metal, you'll never see it, and what happens if this blows off? Then you can't steer. Alright, so I'm going to rebuild this and make a new video of me rebuilding it. So this is going to be it. Thank you.